Hello, welcome everyone. Hopefully you all can hear me. Thank you for attending today, taking time out of your day to join us for our virtual event. We'll be introducing Broadvoice, one of our partners here for voice over IP systems, along with other solutions. Broadvoice has been with us for about 5 years now, and it is something that we are a provider for and want to make sure that you're aware of all of our solutions that we provide here at Coast to Coast. Again, my name is Gilbert Gastelum. I'm the Vice President of Solutions, and we'll be having Yvette Bratt and Michael Farkas, who will be presenting the Broad Voice product for us. At this time, we're going to open up the screen for them to share, and then what we'll do is we'll have a Q&A afterwards, and we'll be raffling off some prizes as well. So stay tuned. We'll have some prizes at the end. I think that's the most important part. Along with everything else. But thanks again for taking time out of your day, and we'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Gilbert, and of course, David, thank you for inviting us to join today. Yes, as mentioned,
Yes, I'm hearing a little echo. Let me see. Try saying something again about.
Okay, is that better? Yeah.
Yep, better.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yes, so my name's Yvette Bratt. I'm the channel manager here at Broadvoice, and I'm joined by my partner, Michael Farkas Jones. Bear with me just a moment. I'm going to start to share my screen.
I know you can hear me, but I can't hear you, so.
Okay, this is odd. Okay, I'm trying to pull out my PowerPoint deck screen share here. 1 second. Okay, there we go. Everyone can see my screen okay? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So don't be alarmed. It's not going to be a long PowerPoint presentation. We don't like to bore our customers, partners, our friends to death. So, but I did just want to give a little bit of a background about who we are at Broadvoice. So Broadvoice is a UCaaS voice over IP provider, and we are located here in California. So in Northridge, so the epicenter of the 94 earthquake is where our corporate headquarters, our leadership team, the majority of our staff, our service delivery team, and our customer support team work. So I like to point that out when I start talking about Broadvoice, because for myself, when I'm calling into my auto dealership, my cell phone provider, my internet provider at home, I like to get a live person on the line when I need some help with something, because usually I'm not calling in unless I need some immediate assistance. We like to let our partners and our customers know that when you're working with Broadvoice, you're working with a locally based support team, even after the sales process, that is based out of our Northridge office. That's live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I just like to point that out as well. We've been doing this since actually the early 90s on the residential, in the residential space, as well as back in the pager days. But we really started to make a footprint for ourselves on the enterprise level in the early 2000s, as you can see here in 2006. So our president, CEO are the founders of our company, and they're still incredibly active with us. They're accessible. We're a large company with a big reputation, especially on the West Coast. But we still work very nimbly. And if you ever needed something, our CEO and our president are accessible. Currently, we have the upwards of about 300,000 subscribers now on our platform and growing every day as we're seeing the market shift. As we're seeing the market shift this year, given the state of the environment that we're living in, we're finding that there's more and more need for voice over IP and cloud solutions. We recognize that our customers need to go remote. So we've created some additional features this year that we'll be showing you a little bit of in a demo in a moment here with my partner, Michael. But I just like to give a brief overview of our pricing. Our rack rates start as shown on the screen here. So we've got metered user for your low usage users at about $10. Our standard seat model is $18, and then our premium level seat is $23. Now, when we're talking about our premium level seat, you're going to get unlimited international calling, and all the bells and whistles, integrations, and everything you really need to make your business run smoothly included in that cost. In April, when everybody was sent, home and working remotely, we added some of the features that used to be included just with our Pro Seat to our standard users for our customers. So that's going to include items such as our communicator platform, which we'll show you, which is essentially chat, online presence to show if an employee within your company is available on a call, to make for easy transferring for your receptionist. You have that, of course, instant messaging, as well as video calling available out of that platform. So that's something we're really excited to share with you. My understanding is that there's some, customers out there, such as automotive, education, healthcare, that can really benefit from this. This is our call path seat model. So we are one of few providers that actually have the call path model available. We take great pride in that because it is the upwards sometimes of 30 to 35% cost savings for those customers. So to simplify this, think of it as if you have an automotive dealership and you don't need all 150 employees to have a phone line, but you need for them to have a phone at their desk. You need to have a phone in a reception area for your customers that are visiting the dealership, maybe in the kitchen, but they don't need a live active line one-to-one user. We then deploy the call path model, and as you can see, it reduces the price of the user very significantly. And that's one seat model that we have here at Broadvoice as well. We also do offer SIP trunking. We've found this to be very beneficial this year because it gives you the ability to use your existing PBX system, and at $17 for a minimum of just 5 trunks, we deploy our SIP trunk model. This has the ability to work with a PRI handoff, a traditional SIP model, or an analog handoff, so you can continue to use your existing system that you have. As you can see on the screen here, we support most of the common PBX systems. So, of course, Avaya, Allworks, Nortel, they're all on the screen there for you, so I won't bore you with reading off names. It has the majority of the same features as our cloud model. So for the customers on the call today, for the agents that work with those customers, if you're not ready to pull the trigger on a full cloud solution, or maybe you even want a hybrid model, please do keep in mind that we have that available here at Broadvoice. And lastly, before I hand it over to, or not yet lastly, before I start to go into some of our integrations that Michael is going to show you today, I want to talk to you about the Poly devices that we work with. So for those of you that don't know, Poly is one of the preferred hardwares out there on the market for many reasons: rebates, pricing, ease of use, as well as their warranty that they offer. These phones are indestructible. They have a fantastic call quality. They have something called acoustic fencing. So if you're sitting in a room and 6 feet behind you, you've got a screaming kid at home, you've got a barking dog, you've got a really loud employee who just talks really loud, you want to block that sound off. The acoustic fence picks that up with Poly devices so that the person on the other end of the line wouldn't hear them. And I wanted to also bring up with our partnership with them, there's a rebate program directly with Poly that's running currently. It's going to put cash back in your pocket. So even if you're renting the device from Broadvoice, or if you purchase it on your own, or if you purchase it with us, you earn rebate back on the device based on which one you get. So some of them are the upwards of $55 per device in rebate. So it's the end of the year. It's been a hard year at that. And so we like to just point that out, that Poly is offering this rebate still, and it's a really great way to put that cash back in your pocket for other needs, maybe as it applies to your telephony system or things that you need around your office. I mentioned integrations, and I recognize that I'm probably going through this quickly, but the reason is I want to save time so we can really show you what these integrations look like, how our system works and how our system functions, because that's really where you can see for yourself that when Broadvoice designed our proprietary platform, which is called B-hive, we looked at integrations that our market and our customers told us they needed. So the first one that we rolled out last year was Salesforce. So we do have Salesforce integration that works very well. We're on a Salesforce platform here at Broadvoice, and I work out of it every day. I can do a single sign-on from it and do all my calls directly out, and it syncs up to everything within my system. It's fantastic. So we'll make sure that we touch very, very briefly potentially on that today. We also rolled out Microsoft Teams integration earlier this year. So again, with the need for employees to be remote now more than ever, we really did our work on really evaluating what option was best. Was it going to be Zoom? Was it going to be a WebEx platform? Or was it going to be Microsoft Teams? And we selected to go with Microsoft Teams internally. Our experience was fantastic. And so we decided to make that an integration with our B-hive platform. So Microsoft Teams integration is now available so that your telephony can sync up to it. And then lastly, before I hand it to my partner, Michael, this year, about 6 weeks ago, we launched Bumble. And this is really a big deal in the market for us. This has been a game changer for us here at Broadvoice in the sense that, with businesses of any type being at home, you need to find a way to communicate with your customers, with your clients, maybe internally with your team. So we rolled out Bumble, and this is our text marketing platform that was designed so that you can communicate easily via SMS or MMS. I'm going to have Michael give you a demo of how it works, but this is priced at $30 per concurrent user. So if you have a user that's going to log in and manage it, you don't need to have every employee on it. It's only going to be for those users that will be managing it together at the same time. You would then have to assign multiple concurrent users, and a penny per SMS and 3 pennies per MMS. You have the ability to send this out to any amount of number of users all at once. The read rate on it has been proven at 98% versus about 47 to 48% via email. So it's a really great way to get in front of your customer base. And we're very, very excited about this here at Broadvoice. So with that said, before I hand it over to my partner, Michael, to show you everything I just briefly touched on, does anyone have any questions so far? I don't know if they have the ability, Gilbert or David, to unmute their line if they do have questions, but I'm here to answer them before we present the portal.
Absolutely. If anyone has any questions, they can throw them in the chat, or they can, you can unmute yourself. I believe everybody has that privilege, and feel free to ask right now.
Thank you. So then, Michael, I'll go ahead and have you start to give a demo of B-hive Bubble in the system.
And unmute myself. Hey everyone, Michael Farkas Jones here. I support Yvette from a technical standpoint, providing demonstrations of the platform, certain features, and of course the integration. So I'm going to go through and give you a kind of a high-level overview because there are a lot of things that I want to kind of give you a tour of today. So feel free if there's any questions you want to put in the chat. I know we have a Q&A at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and start to share my screen. All right, and you guys can see that okay? Take that as a yes. All right, so what you're looking at here is a view of the admin dashboard on the B-hive platform. There's also a user experience as well, and in that user experience, they can do things like check their voicemail. We provide every single user a visual voicemail, allows them to not only listen to their voicemails from the portal, but also read them with our free transcription service. You also have the ability to have that information emailed to you as well. So that way you don't have to go to the portal to check your voicemails. You can just go to the email that you're already using for your day-to-day. You also have access to send and receive faxes directly from the portal. I tend to like this a little bit more. I find it a little bit more secure than the normal faxing methodologies because you can pick and choose who has access to the faxes, who can send, who can receive, and those lists do not have to be the same. So you can have people that have send access but no receive access. So it's really great for that granular level of control and access. Other things that Yvette mentioned that we give every user access to is the Broadvoice communicator. So the communicator is going to be the included soft phone. Also provides a one-to-one SMS feature for those users that have a direct dial phone number. It is a web-based application, but you can get a downloadable version of it if you'd like. So some of the things that you can do, it is of course a soft phone, so you can make and receive all your calls using a input-output device. You can just use this to make and receive all your calls. So it's a great way to engage your work line from the road, from your house, if you don't happen to have your work phone with you. All the other things that you can do is you can send chats to people in your organization, and you can also use this to send and receive text messages to people outside your organization if you do have one of those direct dial numbers. Now, this is not typically designed for mass texting or anything like that. It doesn't support group texting. This is more of a one-to-one engagement using the direct dial number. Now, texting with customers leveraging the primary business number, that's going to be something that's a benefit of Bubble, which I'll be able to show you a little later as well. Also, too, you can leverage this as a presence engine. Yvette mentioned that we have switched over to Teams internally. That's why you see a lot of these empty circles. A lot of the users are offline on this platform today. But typically, you'd see green indicating that users are online, or yellow indicating that they're online but away from their desk, or these empty circles to indicate that they're offline. Now, regardless of whether they're logged into this and using it, it will also show a red phone icon regardless of how they're using the system. So as you can see, Courtney here is on the phone, and I can tell you that she's not using this platform to make that phone call. She's using her desk phone. So it will pick up the status of a phone call regardless of how you're using the system. And like I said, this is included with every seat type. So it doesn't matter if you're pro or standard, you have access to a built-in soft phone and texting communication platform. Now, for the admin experience, I'm going to go quickly over some of the features that you have access to as the admin. This will also show you some of the features that you can add on to your services here. So the dashboard that you see here is sort of the jumping off point for any of the administrative changes that need to be made to the account. You can designate as many admins as you need. There's no sort of price adjustment based on how many admins you have. And so right here, it starts you off with the dashboard, letting you know from an overview standpoint how your phone system is performing today. So how many calls have come in, how many of those calls were answered, did anyone who called receive a busy signal, how many missed calls were there, and also some nice metrics over here too, like ring time before answering, to let you know on average how many seconds the phones audibly ring before they're picked up. So it's a nice little entry-level stat. We do have bolt-on analytics packages if you're looking for something more robust than this, but this is included as well as the daily call logs. Now from here, in the people section, you can manage all the users on the account. So you can do things like add users, you can remove users if you need to, you can also edit users from here. And when you edit users, you have a lot of control over the things that the users have access to, as well as the information about that user. So you can change all of their personal information. You can do things like change their actual phone buttons right from the portal. So if you want to change how many call parks someone has or how many speed dials they have, you don't have to log into the phone and leverage T9 anymore. You can actually just do so right from the portal, leveraging drop downs and changing the functionality of different buttons. And from here, you can also dictate which features and services this user has access to. So if I don't want them to have a voicemail, I can delete them from here. If I don't want them to have access to faxing, I can delete that. And if I want them to have access to texting, I can add a number for them to use for that texting. So you have a lot of control over the user experience here. Now, some of the standard features that you'd find in most phone systems, we do have auto attendants or the phone trees, as they're sometimes referred to, that allow users to call in and pick through a selection of options to get routed to the appropriate destination. So we only charge for the top level of auto attendants, and they can go as deep as 25 submenus. So really robust for one low entry price. You can also set up your ring groups from here. You also have access to some of our contact center functionality right from here too. So we do have what we call a contact center light feature. This is not designed to compete with companies like InContact or Five9. These are more for people who just need a nice way to manage a group of users with a call queue, with wallboard support, with the monitor whisper barge. So in our contact centers, you have live views, which are going to go over the calls currently taking place. This is a demo account. I apologize. So there's not going to be any live calls in here. But if there were, it would tell you how many calls are on hold, how many are live, and in regards to the employees working this queue, it'll tell you how many are logged in, on break, and logged out. Now, this can be thrown up on a wallboard. The supervisors also have access to this view, and the users also have access to a similar view to this, but they just don't have access to any of the button presses. So they can see how the queue is performing that they're working in. Also, too, for our SIP trunks, I know Yvette mentioned that we have a hybrid solution, and the reason that solution is hybrid is because the SIP trunks are actually managed from the same portal that we manage our hosted services out of. So if you wanted to add a SIP trunk, you would go to SIP endpoints, and all you'd have to do is name it, assign the IP address to it. If this is going to an analog handoff, we do provide that device as well. And if you need a PRI handoff, we can accommodate that with a different device. But as a result of the SIP trunks being managed in the same hosted portal, you can do things like create failover routes. So if the SIP trunk or the PBX goes down and it's not reachable, we can route the calls either to another location that's maybe unhosted, maybe to somebody's cell phone, or maybe to an answering service. You can also add call recording onto your SIP trunk, so that way you can get those calls recorded. And you can also do things like add trunk mapping, and this allows you to extension dial to other users in your organization who may be on a hosted seat. So in that hybrid scenario, you'd have hosted users using the new Polycom phones, and then you'd have the users using the traditional PBX system, and those users could extension dial each other with this internal trunk mapping. So that way it combines the two instances and they behave as one system. Now you also have complete control over your phone numbers. You can add numbers. You can also delete numbers from here as well. And you also have access to unlimited call parking, unlimited business schedules. You can create contact books, customize your sound files, block as many numbers as you need to, and even leverage outbound call tagging to track call activity similar to account coding. Now, one last thing before I move over into some of the other items on the agenda. Real quick, I forgot to mention the presence settings are really nice as well on the system. So if you want to change the way your phone rings, you go to the top right corner, click on presence settings, and then you'll see really quickly and easily how your phone is currently set to ring. So right now, my phone is set to ring for 30 seconds, and then it goes to my voicemail. But if I needed to, I can also have it ring my cell, and I can pick and choose when it starts ringing my cell, whether it's at the same time as my desk or only when the desk has stopped ringing. And then I can even have it go to a third destination if I needed to. And then once again, I can pick and choose when it rings that third destination. So this is really handy if you are not typically at one place all the time. This is a really good way for your calls to get to you no matter what. And also too, if you are an admin, you have the ability to override any of these settings. So if someone goes on vacation, forgets to put their phone in Do Not Disturb, you can access their presence settings and just turn their phone to busy and send all their calls to voicemail. Now, some of the other things that Yvette mentioned are some of the integrations that we have. So the first integration I believe she mentioned was our Salesforce integration. And one of the reasons that we like it so much, first of all, it's included with the cost of a pro user. So there's no additional cost associated with adding in that Salesforce integration. And once you have the integration live, it's going to look just like this at the bottom left of the screen. You can click on it to make sure your logged in status is good and everything's ready to go. And what this will do is this will provide not only inbound, but also outbound screen pops to any contact, case, opportunity, account, or lead that matches that caller ID. So if you receive a call, it's going to look for any of those things, and it's going to pull up everything that matches, and it's going to allow you to enter your notes directly into the record. On top of that, if you are a user that has their calls recorded, that recording link will also be directly embedded into the record after you're done leaving your notes. And if the number that you're either calling or has called you does not match any known instance in Salesforce, you have the opportunity to then create a new lead or a new case based on that phone call directly from the integration. And like I mentioned, that is completely included with the cost of a pro user. Now, another integration that has been really beneficial for us here at Broadvoice has been our Teams integration. Now, Teams is another platform that we've also adopted here internally. And myself personally, I really enjoy the collaboration aspect of Teams and everything that you can do that's baked directly into Teams. You know, it has the great chat feature. It has the great mobile app that allows you to stay connected even if you're on the go, out to lunch. But the thing that it doesn't do inherently is have the ability to call out to the PSTN. Now, it always had the ability to call internally to one of your team members, but it couldn't call out to the PSTN. So that kind of limited my ability to use it in my day-to-day because, you know, I'm using Teams to chat, but then I have to go to a different platform to make my phone calls. But with our integration, we actually build the keypad directly into your Teams experience. So this is what is called direct routing through Teams. And what that means is that the calling experience is all in Teams and not out of Teams. So when you call from Teams, you get a Teams window that pops up, whether you're talking to a cell phone or an internal contact. Not only do we give you the ability to make and receive calls from your Teams web interface, we also give you the same ability from the Teams mobile app. So if you have the Teams mobile app and our integration, you can use that to make and receive calls using your work number as well. And on top of that, we also import your Broadvoice call history directly into your Teams ecosystem. And we also include that voicemail, once again, allowing you to listen as well as to read them directly from Teams. So if you are someone who uses Teams and then you have this integration added, the experience is going to be really, really significant. I mean, for myself personally, now I only really have to work out of Teams and Outlook for my day-to-day and then Salesforce. And if I get a call from somebody, the Salesforce inbound call pops up and I'm able to log that call directly in there. And if I need to make a call, I can just go to Teams and make that call from Teams. Also, to the Teams, when you have a number that's in Teams, you can also use click to call when you have the integration. So now, for the sort of the final thing I wanted to give you a look at before we move into the Q&A, is our newest product, which is called Bubble. Now, I know I say new, but it's only because it's newly rebranded. It's actually been up and operational for about 3 to 4 years now under a different name. So this is just a rebrand of a product that we already own. So it's not like this is new and it's untested. This is tried and true product. So I want to give you a little tour of some of the benefits of Bubble, and then I want to show you a little look at Bubble itself. So really quick, just to go over some of the benefits of using Bubble. Firstly, you can text using your primary business number. So you don't have to create one of these short codes. You don't have to provide your clients a different number in order to text you. They can text using your actual primary business number. And that's going to allow you to reach customers where they're at, because as you know, customers do business from everywhere now, from their office, from the road, from their house. So the cell is pretty much the best way to get in contact with anyone nowadays, and especially via SMS. So one of the great things about Bubble as well is that you can target messages to various audiences, and you can do so really quickly. So if you have a list of contacts, some of whom are, let's say, other staff members, some of them are clients, you can tag them with those appropriate tags like faculty, like customer. So that way, if you need to, you can send a mass text to all your customers by just using that tag. Or you can send the text to all your faculty by using the faculty tag. Also, too, you heard Yvette mention that you can boost the interest of what you're trying to communicate through the higher open and read rates. As you know, with spam emails or marketing emails, if you're not familiar with who they came from, you're most likely just to put them in the trash can before you even read them. Whereas a text, even if you delete that text, you're still likely to open it to see what it says, especially if it's from a number you recognize, because it is, like I mentioned earlier, the primary business number. And through those higher open and read rates, you can definitely broaden your customer engagement. And any communication that you can do away from the phone is, of course, going to reduce the call volumes and enhance your existing workflows. Now, some of the main features of Bubble. You have a text cast. So that is your manual text blast to a targeted audience based on certain criteria. That criteria can be those tags we discussed, but it can also be things like the city they live in, the state they live in, the date they became a client or a contact, or other various information you can send using that criteria. Now, everything else sort of falls under the time text category, where you have your things like scheduled text, where you can schedule text to be sent out when certain thresholds are met. The most common example of this is appointment reminders. So you can have a text sent out to present the client with some options in regard to that appointment reminder. So you can say, press reply with 1 to confirm this appointment, reply with 2 to change or to cancel. And that 1 could send in a confirmation, and the 2 could then connect them with a live agent to then find a different time that worked for them, or maybe to cancel the event altogether. You can also have reminders that are sent out, as well as interval text. Now, interval texts are really nice because they allow you to build drip campaigns to communicate messaging over an extended period of time. And that's completely customizable. So that can be day 1, and then after a week, then after a month, or whatever intervals are most appropriate for your particular use case. Other things that Bubble features are inbound text routing. So you can think of this as the options that I mentioned when sending out those appointment reminders. The inbound text routing allows you to send out options for the client to respond back with, and based on the option they respond back with, different automated things can occur, like giving them an automated response or entering them in a queue for some one-on-one interaction. Other things that the system supports are keywords. Keywords simply trigger an action or set of actions when a contact texts in a specific word. So the most common example for this is the one keyword that we already have built into the system for everyone, and that is stop. So anytime someone texts the word stop, it's going to trigger them to be removed from the texting list so that they are no longer receiving texts from you in that fashion. Also, too, like I mentioned earlier, we have live agent interaction. That's going to allow the agents to have one-on-one conversations with the people that are texting in. So that means that they could have potentially be on the phone and then texting someone from their desktop while they're on the phone, managing more than one client at a time, if that's something that you'd like to engage in. And then probably the most impactful piece of Bubble, besides the feature set, is the open API. So it has a completely open API that you can connect to. And with that API, you can do things like automate messages to be sent out. You can have surveys sent out. You can have contacts created and updated, as well as users. So at this time, I'd like to actually give you a little glimpse at what Bubble looks like. So you can get to it by going to bubble.broadvoice.com. And you're going to be entered into a mini dashboard. There's actually a full dashboard that you can see the link to here, but this is just like a mini dashboard like the one you saw in B-hive, giving you a general sense of what's happening with the Bubble platform today. Now, like I mentioned, the Bubble is built all around the contacts. So the more time and energy that you put into making sure your contact list is up to date, the easier it is to use Bubble all around. So starting in those contacts, you can see that you have 4 buckets of contacts: active, blacklisted, blocking, and deleted. You could think of deleted as just inactive contacts. That way, if you want to deactivate a contact for a time period, you can just move them over to the deleted section and then reactivate them as needed, instead of having to recreate them when you need to send them a message again. Blocking are contacts that you have blocked from sending messages to you, and blacklisted contacts are contacts that have asked to not be contacted via text. And then your active contacts are the ones that you're currently sending and receiving messages with. Now you can add contacts manually. You can also do a bulk import. You can use our template that you can download, or you can just make sure that your CSV file has fields that adhere to these supported fields here, so that way our system can digest it. But going into the contacts, you'll see that everything is sort of standard for the most part. You have your first name, your last name, email, business name, their time zone. But probably the most important thing are going to be the SMS-enabled phone number so that they can receive text from you, and then the specific tags. Now, what you can do is you can create tags, and then you can associate tags with contacts. So as you can see from this contact here, this contact is labeled as a customer as well as Northeast. So this is a customer out of the Northeast. So if I need to send the message to all of my customers, I can type in the tag customer and send the message to everyone who fits that criteria. And then if I want to be more specific, maybe I have some communication for a regional customer, I can add that regional tag as well to send targeted messages to a customer in that specific region. Now, once you have all of your contact information where you need it to, you can go about actually sending and receiving text. So the first thing I mentioned first was that text cast. This is going to be that manual text to those targeted groups. And as you can see, you have different criteria that you can pick from. So we're going to stick with tag, and we're just going to stick with that first tag of customer. So you can start typing it. It's going to bring up the matches. I can add in that tag of customer, and then I can hit search. It's going to bring up every contact that fits that tag of customer. So from this point, I can select a template to send out. This is a text that I've already created that I want to reuse for this specific communication, or I can do a custom message here, 1,600 characters max. You can also add in an image file to this text, and you can choose to have this text sent out later. So maybe you want to have it sent out at a specific time for whatever reason. You can select that date and time right here. Now this is that manual text. Now everything else sort of falls under the time text category. So when you click on time text, you'll not only see all the features of the time text, but you're also going to see a little blurb about what every piece of that is. So it's going to give you a little definition of what a time text is. It's going to let you know that with the time text as well as the text cast, you can leverage forms. Now forms are a great way to personalize a text that's sent out to more than one person. So even though you may send the text to 100 contacts at once, you still want those contacts to feel like you texted them directly. And the way to do that is by leveraging these variables. Now, instead of the word variable here, just imagine it says something like first name. So that way you can craft a message, put bracket first name in there, and that way every message that it crafts, it's going to replace the first name from that contact in those brackets. That way, everyone that receives the text is going to get that personal touch. It's going to say, hey, Michael, hey, Yvette, hey, David, instead of just hello. It's going to be a lot more personal. This is also where you'd go to configure those reminders, as well as create those drip campaigns. And then with this little calendar here, you can see what text activity is set to go out. So today is the 10th, there's one text sent to go out today. So I can click on this, see what the text is, and then actually decide to cancel that text, or I can even modify it or push it out to a later time. Now, if I'm an agent and I'm using Bubble to leverage that one-on-one interaction with a client, I can just go over to my chat box, and it's going to show me all the chats that are currently in queue, as well as all the chats that are active. So if I'm logging in, I can see that a chat is in queue. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that chat. It's going to present me with the chat. It's going to give me the contact name, the contact phone number. And not only that, it's going to provide me a complete history of everything that's been said with this contact, so that if I'm talking to this person for the first time, I can go brief myself really quickly on what are the last couple things that have been said. I can also add a new note or look at any notes that have already been left on this contact. And then I can start actually texting this contact directly. I can send in a template, I can add in an image file, or I can put them on a series of text, or put them on a in one of those inbound text routing trees. I can also transfer this to a specific agent, or I can actually release it back to the queue to let someone else take it. And then right here on the side, you're going to see that we have the setup for a lot of those things as well. So you can craft surveys that are sent out, and these surveys are completely customizable. They're not made by Broadvoice. You can pick and choose what the questions are, and a link is sent out via text that they can click on and then take that survey to get your results. You can also create as many tags as you need. There's no limit. There's no restrictions there. Same thing with the keywords. As many as you need, no limit, no restriction. And then finally, looking at the open API, not only is it an open API, but we give you a lot of help, so to speak, with it as well. So we're going to, of course, give you the account key, the token, and the version, but we also let you know what standard requests should look like, what standard responses should look like, and with the quick links, you can see just how much you can actually leverage out of the open API. So you can send messages, you can have users created, or keep that list updated based on the integration. Same thing with contacts. You can have them created when a new one's created in whatever database you're using, or updated when a change is made. You can have them subscribe to a series of text, initiate a survey, or send out an authorization check to just make sure they still want to receive text messages from you. So I know I went over a lot. There's actually a lot more that we can go over, but at this time, I'd really like to focus on if you guys have any questions on anything that you've seen, anything that you haven't seen, or anything just about Broadvoice in general that Yvette or I can sort of answer for you.
All right. Well, Marcus, thank you for the presentation. I'm not seeing
Absolutely.
any questions in the chat, but I'm sure people may reach out afterwards. So thank you for the presentation.
Absolutely.
Good to see just a little bit of bubble. And as Marcus mentioned, there's a lot more the platform can do and a lot of ways you can leverage it to make communication just easier for you and your whole team.